Welcome to Childcare Conversations with Kate and Carrie.
Well, hi guys. Today we're doing things a little bit differently, and I, Carrie, am interviewing her, Kate, as a way to make sure you guys know who it is you've been listening to. We've been having this podcast for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, 4 years. And I figure it's a good time to get to know us a little bit better. We should probably have done this maybe, I don't know, 4 years ago, but we're going to do it today because we just launched a new book, which is From Oh Shit to I Got This. And Kate took the lead on this book. So we're going to put her in the spotlight, which is in some ways her favorite place to be, and in other places, in other ways, something she does not enjoy. Because today we're going to talk a little bit about why she felt this particular book needed to be written. It's been sort of a thing in the back of her head for a while, but what made you decide that now, why in 2022 did you decide we need to get a book out there directed at female entrepreneurs, business owners, and managers?
All right, so you're gonna make me take some deep breaths, are you?
Uh-huh.
So
It's about 2022.
so like the title suggests, oh shit, was definitely something that I could relate to. In 2021, I had an unexpected, and I do talk about it at length in the book in a couple of different places, where I found myself suddenly single. It was not something I planned, and it wasn't something that was planned out. And I think a lot of times when long-term relationships and marriages end, there probably isn't a long-term discussion of an exit strategy. I think somebody just makes a decision.
I think we need to roll this back to how your first marriage ended, because I think that explains why you had this thought process that if a marriage was going to end, there would be conversation and it would be very different than the way your second marriage ended. So let's go back to that first marriage.
So my first marriage was to a wonderful man who was absolutely at the time my best friend, and we were friends first. Then we tried to figure out how to make a relationship work and realized that the chemistry wasn't there and that we had some really different core components at very, very young ages. So we were in our early 20s and we did things differently. And when that marriage ended, we actually took a whole year. We met every week for a year to go over everything from finances to how we were going to relate to our child. And it was ridiculously amicable, to the point where even in my second marriage, my first husband was listed on our wills as the person who would take the children if something was going to happen to me and my husband. So
okay. Hang on. No, you're going too fast. Did you and your first husband have any business dealings together? Since you are a serial entrepreneur and business owner, was that at all an issue?
So we did. We actually owned a printing company together during our marriage. And by the time we got divorced, that business had been dissolved. And we worked really well as friends in that marriage. And so we learned how to talk to each other, especially about things maybe we disagreed with, specifically related to business. And I think that when our relationship changed, it was treated like a business and not necessarily like a relationship, if that makes some sense. I mean, we were really good at having those discussions. There were, like I said, there were just things that we did very differently. And so we had some different stances on things that, although we probably could have faked it, we felt like we had honest conversations, again, in our early to mid 20s, and decided that it was best for everybody, including our son, for us to figure out who we needed to be. I went on and finished my degree. He went on to finish his degree. We both figured things out. And we both then got remarried, and happily and in an amicable, we are all friends kind of a way.
Okay. So that is why Kate thinks that when a relationship ends, there is some pre-planning and it is a decision that both of you made. During the pandemic, that is not what happened with the person that we now call the big spoon. He does not need to be named. Um, he made choices and decisions while he was deployed um, during the pandemic that he did not communicate with Kate. Would you say that that's a way to put that, Kate?
That is a way to put that. I mean, and so if you go get the book, because we really hope that you do, I am able to sit here now in 2024 and reflect on the previous basically 24, 25 years of that relationship and identify the things that I would do differently now. So never in my entrepreneurial relationships with my second husband was he ever involved in my business or businesses. I had several over those 23 years. He was never involved. And I never really even, he was never in the succession planning. He was not really involved in the bookkeeping. He knew it was a thing I did. And so I would definitely change that. If I was going to give advice to a new female entrepreneur, is to communicate from day one with your significant others what your business is, what's your role in the business, maybe even what kind of time you think that's going to take, and prioritize relationships and prioritize that communication, but not just the business communication. Like I said, my first husband and I managed that business communication really, really well. My second husband and I, there was passion, there was a lot of affection, there was definitely family unity. But I had my thing. I knew all about his, and probably was not the best thing for the longevity of our relationship. But I didn't realize it was an issue, and he never said it was an issue until the end.
So how does that lead you to going, we need to write what we're now calling the Hot Pink book? What about that made you go, I need to write an oh shit manual for a woman who is starting her own business or who finds herself in a crisis situation in the business that she runs and manages?
So by June of 2022, I was single again, still had a minor child, and still felt a lot of responsibility for even our other 3 children to be able to be there for them. And so with that means I needed financial resources, and I had always been the second income and never the primary income source. And so having discussions, all of a sudden I found seriously hundreds of women who were also blindsided in their 50s after being stay-at-home wives or spouses who didn't know what to do. A lot of them had something they did on the side, but now all of a sudden they're an empty nester, and the significant other comes back out of nowhere and the relationship ends. And I found myself not only empathizing, but trying to figure out what I could do. And if we go way, way back, even before husband number 1, so in my early 20s, I was a certified business analyst for the SBA. Even in my late 20s, I worked for the Texas Center for Women's Business Enterprise. And so I knew that women loved starting businesses, but it was usually so much around their passion that sometimes they kind of forgot the business part. And so I really felt like we needed to be able to give them a tool of, okay, you have found yourself in a situation where you are unexpectedly single, and it could be maybe you're a sudden widow, which was totally unexpected, suddenly divorced, maybe your spouse lost a job, and all of a sudden your little hobby business has to be the primary income until they get a new job. Or maybe you just want that change to change industries from maybe education to healthcare, um, or maybe something more creative. So regardless of what type of business
Or
you were
in childcare, you were working for a center and the center went out of business. We were talking with somebody like that in Amarillo. Like they were
absolutely.
working for a school, they thought everything was great, and then all of a sudden they're like, "We're closing on Friday." That leaves you at sea, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, this is the thing I love doing. I've gotten to a leadership point. I don't want to go back in the classroom. I want to continue in a leadership role. What do I do next?"
Absolutely. And we saw a lot of that happen to folks during the pandemic and even post pandemic. A lot of industries felt that pandemic piece. And so the book is designed as a tool for somebody who is thinking about starting a business, has started a business. Maybe you've been in business for 4 or 5, 10 years, and all of a sudden you have to take it seriously and you have to put your grown-up pants on, your big girl panties, and you need to get all your ducks in a row. And so you got to go find your duck. But if you don't even know what other ducks you need, this book is for you. And we've worked literally with thousands of business owners in the last few years, over 30 years. And a lot of the stories and a lot of their needs were the same, regardless of the industry. And so that is kind of the stories we pulled in for the book. It was the stories that made us want to be even the solution or the resource. And my favorite chapter really is the last chapter. So as
favorite.
So as we were wrapping up doing our own, getting all of our ducks in a row, because Carrie and I have a business that is expanding, and we needed legal advice, and we were sitting down with our attorney, who of course bought our first book, and she was reading our first book, and even she came to the table going, you really need this book for other business owners. And we kind of chuckled and said, yes, it's coming out in August. She goes, but it has no sex. So chapter 27 was entirely written for our attorney. And it really isn't sex as what you might think, but it is one of the things that I hope that women who get through chapter 27 really stop and take pause on. Because the one thing that I never did during any of my businesses was put my future first and to make sure that I was included in the future. And so I would strongly, like without a doubt, tell every husband and wife, or every pair, every partnership, every significant other relationship, that both of you need to have your retirement plans that isn't, oh, we will use this money this way, because things will change at some point in time. And it could be a disability. It could be death, divorce, addiction, disinterest. What was the fifth one?
Well, we ended up finding 10.
Well, okay. Well, I can't even think of the first 5. But anyway, there's 5 Ds. And you never, regardless of how much you love the person you're with, how much you think that this love will last forever, last time I checked, most of us are probably don't have the ability to see the future, and you never know what might come along. And I want both people to have their own future planning, retirement accounts, whatever you want to call that, because even if all I had done was put $100 a month into a bank account for 24 years, heck, even if I had done it between, but with the first husband, right? If I had done that for 33 years, when my oh shit happened, I would have been in a very, very different place. And I know we hear from different professionals about, oh, have your rainy day fund and all of that, which I had those as a couple. I had some emergency funds but I didn't set myself up for the second half of my life. And I actually ask people in the book to sign a pledge to themselves to make sure that they will, and that they really think about, and that they make a pledge to themselves to put that 100, 200, even if you have to start with $50 a month, into something that really is a retirement account. If it's a savings account and you have it there, this is not the money you use to go fix your air conditioning. That's a household expense. This is something that, if you were injured or your significant other was injured, you could use the funds then, but really it's for those oh shits. Not, and in Texas, I realized that the air conditioner dying may feel like an oh shit. But that's different. That should be your household rainy day fund. And so it doesn't matter how good the sex is, doesn't how much you love somebody. We can't control whether or not those feelings will always be there. And so, do yourself, learn from somebody else's mistake. And if I thought it was just mine, that'd be one thing. But like I said, I'm talking in the last 2 years, I've met hundreds of women who they made sure their husband's retirement funds were fully maxed out. They took care of other expenses.
They made sure their kids' college was fully funded.
Yeah. Children's weddings.
I don't know anything about weddings. No, nothing about
I have a friend right now who is really struggling in her marriage, and but they made sure to have, because they had 2 daughters, they made sure to have a wedding fund. And everybody can do with their money what they want, but please just do what you can do to take care of yourself. I actually read this in an article, and it was one of those things that I just thought was really an interesting thing was, if you get into a significant relationship, each person pays $100 a month into this bank account. And if you end up getting divorced, whoever asked for the divorce completely signs away that other bank account. That's a lot of money. Could you imagine? I did the math one day and I'm like, well, that might have given him a little pause if he knew he had to give me that money. So
well, you can do that if, you can talk to your kids about doing that with their relationships. Maybe I should talk to that with my kids on their relationships. But it's also an insurance policy. We talk about insurance in the book. We talk about insurance in business in general. We have to ensure the success of your business and the success of your life. And because women, some of it's innate, some of it's trained, we are the caretakers, and we spend so much of our time taking care of others. Part of the reason for this oh shit to I got this is we need you to feel like you got this. And you're only going to feel that way if you're taking care of yourself as well as other people. If you're only taking care of yourself, then you're a narcissist. We don't want that. We want you to take care of yourself first and then take care of other people, just like they say every time you get on an airplane.
absolutely.
Put your mask on first and then help the other person. And that's not how we're taught. And so we are trying to help you get the mask on yourself. So
think of it as our version of a soapbox. And I may need to invest in one of those little things that the props they use when they're teaching on an airplane. Because, my kids were all taken care of and I've been there for them. I took care of every activity, every vacation, all the cell phone bills. I just joke, even if I just put the cell phone bill into a savings account. So do what, evaluate your own. I can't tell you what to do. But I'm sure going to scream as loud as I can, if I can, to encourage you to make sure that you do have your own. And again, even if you have to start with, small amounts, getting in that habit, and also making it basically untouchable, make it difficult to go get that money.
Yep. So that gives you a little bit of an idea. Last week, if you want to listen to more about the book, you can listen to my story from last week and go out and get yourself a copy and then make our lives write a review of the book and also write a review of this podcast. We were talking to
Wait.
dear
They
friend.
can even get the Kindle, right? Like the Kindle's like 99 cents. Like, you know.
The Kindle will be 99 cents.
Yeah. So.
But write the review. A new dear friend of ours was like, how come you don't have any reviews on your podcast? And we were like, because we forget to ask. And she's like, stop forgetting. So this is me remembering. Look, Erica, I'm doing the thing. Look, I'm doing a good job. So get the book, write the reviews. And if you have ideas for topics for future episodes, write to Kate and Carrie at childcareconversations.com. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening to Childcare Conversations with Kate and Carrie. Want to learn more? Check out our website at texasdirector.org. And if you've learned anything today, leave us a comment below and share the show.